Hi everybody, it's Julie Grafmeyer at the Wellness Center at CAPS. We're here tonight to talk about ProLon, which is a fasting mimicking diet. We're going to wait just a minute here to let everybody join in. And while we're waiting, I thought I would mention we have an upcoming Wellness Center event at CAPS on February 25th. We're going to be having a lunch session and an evening session. So if you're interested about learning about all things about wellness, not just the ProLon Fasting Mimicking Diet, be sure to go to our website and sign up today. Well, I'm not sure that they're completely up on the website yet, but put it on your calendar, February 25th, and it'll be at the Upper Arlington location. So again, we'll be talking about all things wellness on that day. Tonight we're going to be talking about ProLon, which is the fasting mimicking diet that we use here through the Wellness Center for a lot of different reasons. And we'll just give everybody a few more minutes to log in. Oh, thanks, Guy. That was nice. And I am looking at 3 different cameras here, so forgive me if I look all over the place, but we're both on Instagram and Facebook. Hi, Casey. Who else is joining here? Oh, there's Keith, and he's the first joined on my Instagram account. Great job, Keith. All right. Well, it looks like we have quite a few people logged in on all the different social media sites here, so why don't we go ahead and get started. Again, my name is Julie Grafmeyer. I'm the nurse practitioner in the Wellness Center at CAPS, and we're here tonight to talk about ProLon. So ProLon is a fasting mimicking diet. We're going to go through all of the details, exactly what that means and why you would do it, but I wanted to start tonight with a patient testimonial. I had a patient do the ProLon kit a few weeks ago and sent me an email last week, and I think it really just summarizes everything really nicely, so I'm going to read it to you. She says, well, day 5 finished and a completed ProLon program in the books. I did it, and I have to say, I just still don't like olives, but I scarfed them down. I am down 7 pounds, probably mostly water, from my last weigh-in on the scale. I can tell a difference in my energy, skin, and sleep. And you are right, we eat way too much. Thank you for pushing me to do this. I will continue to do 2 more over the next 2 months, and these past 5 days have helped me refocus on how and what I eat. So I think that's a really nice summary of a lot of the benefits that we tend to see with the ProLon fasting mimicking diet. And we're going to start here by really talking first about fasting. So I have this kind of laid out tonight as a question and answer. We had some questions submitted beforehand. So one of the first questions that we get is, what is fasting mimicking and what is ProLon? So I like to start by talking first about fasting. And there are so many different fasting plans out there now people hear about. So fasting, first of all, is defined by abstaining from all or some food and drink for a certain amount of time for a variety of reasons. So it's really a vague definition, and we get into things a little bit deeper when we start talking about different food choices and food plans for people. So one of the really common ones that you'll hear about now is intermittent fasting. And intermittent fasting is typically described as a compressed eating window. So on an average day, most people eat over about a 16-hour time frame. We sleep for 8 hours overnight, we eat breakfast pretty early in the morning, we eat dinner pretty late at night, or even snacking after that. So you're eating over about 16 hours. When we start talking about intermittent fasting, we compress that eating window and fast for a longer window. So you'll either fast for 12 hours and only eat in a 12-hour time frame, or we actually fast for 16 hours and fast for an 8-hour window, eat for an 8-hour window, fast for the 16-hour window. The other way to do intermittent fasting is by actually eating regularly for 5 days out of the week and then really restricting your intake for 2 days. So there's a lot of different ways you can do that. Now fasting then becomes, and one step further you can take it and do what's called a prolonged fast. So a prolonged fast is really restricting all food for 4 to 7 days. And that is the length of time that we see in research that you get the most benefits from fasting when you really abstain from food for 4 to 7 days. Now, I know that that sounds absolutely incomprehensible for most of us, so this is where we turn to Prolon, or a fasting mimicking diet. This kit was designed to really match the exact micro and macronutrients that we need to provide enough nourishment for our body, and while at the same time not really being enough food for your body to recognize it. So in a sense, you're tricking the body, or you're mimicking fasting without having to really struggle with absolutely no intake for 4 to 7 days. So that's in a nutshell what Prolon is. The next question that I get from people is, why would I consider Prolon? So number one, we would use Prolon, or fasting mimicking diet, because it's much easier to use than to do a true prolonged fast where you don't eat anything for 4 to 7 days. So that's the first point. It's easier than to do a normal prolonged fast. And then all of the benefits of fasting, or fasting mimicking diet, really focus on metabolism and cellular regeneration. So regeneration and rejuvenation of stem cells, which gets us self-repair and cleanup, promotes autophagy, which is the natural destruction of our own damaged cells. So our cells are always turning over and regrowing, and we want the good ones there, but we want to get rid of the damaged older cells. Metabolic maintenance is huge, so improvement in cholesterol, triglycerides, insulin, blood sugar, blood pressure, and inflammation markers have all been found in research to really be improved with the Prolon fasting mimicking diet. We do see weight loss, specifically visceral fat, so the fat that's surrounding the organs in our abdomen. That's the fat that really increases our health risks for different chronic illnesses. So by boosting the metabolism, boosting those stem cells, we can really help to burn that visceral fat. And while we use the fasting mimicking diet, or the Prolon kit, you actually are able to preserve your lean muscle mass. And that is unique to fasting mimicking. If you do a strict prolonged fast, you will start to waste muscle. So we don't want that. I can kind of summarize that. There was a great graphic provided by Prolon. This is called the Prolon journey chart. I don't know if you guys can see that very well, but you really do progress through those steps, through those benefits over the 5-day program. And we'll talk about all the details of the actual kit. But if you do intermittent fasting, that's really kind of day one, where you're restricting that eating window, and you really do start to burn fat and get into some of that cellular cleanup. But as you progress through day 2, 3, 4, and 5, that's where you'll go through those other steps with the metabolism reset, the cellular autophagy, and all of those other benefits. So that's a nice little graphic about Prolon. The next thing that we get questions about a lot is what is actually in the Prolon kit. So I want to open this up and show you. It's really nicely packaged, and it's laid out very well. I think you can all see that. Sorry, again, I'm trying to talk to a couple different screens here, but you'll see all of the boxes are labeled. There's 5 boxes in here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and this is every single bite of food that you're going to eat for those 5 days. There's also some supplements in here, a vitamin and an omega-3 fatty acid, so all of that is in here. You'll see each day is a little bit different. There's bars, different soups, there are olives. I hear a lot from a lot of people that they don't like olives. You do have to eat everything that's in here. It's really, really important. It's designed very specifically for, again, those micro and macronutrients. So, there's like a bar. This is a nut bar that is typically your breakfast. There's different types of soups, some teas, vitamins, and then, one day you'll get some crackers, and there is, on a couple days, you get this little tiny chocolate bar, and I'm telling you what, it is the most amazing chocolate bite that you've ever had when you're hungry from fasting all day. So that's a nice little treat on a couple days. They are plant-based, gluten-free, and dairy-free. We get that question a lot. There is a lot of different nuts, so if you have a nut allergy or any food sensitivities, you can always give us a call or look on the Prolon website for specific food intolerances or allergies. Calorie-wise, on day 1, there's a bit more calories. You're getting around 1,150 calories on day 1. And then days 2 through 5 are approximately 750 to 800 calories. So it is a decent amount of food. It's not, again, a strict prolonged fast where you're not eating anything, but it is a lot less than what most of us eat. There's some great handouts in the kit to really help guide you through how to use these days and how to get through successfully. According to Proline, we know that about 80% of people that try a Proline kit are successful and really strictly stay to not eating anything else, and that is a huge percentage. When you talk about most food choices and dietary plans, it's a much, much less than 80%, but I think it's mostly because it's 5 days, and we can do a lot for our health if it's just for 5 days.
Julie, we did get a good question. Somebody said, does it have sugar in it?
So it does have some, it's a great question, like inulin and some other things that are kind of sugar related. It's definitely not carb free, but it is low carb, low protein, and low calorie, obviously. Are there any other questions right now before I go on? Is this a gluten-free diet plan? Yes, it is gluten-free for sure. It is not grain-free. There are different grains. There's some rice and quinoa in one of the soups. So it's not grain-free, but it is gluten-free, and it is dairy-free as well. Good. Okay. So the next question that I get a lot is, well, how do I really do it? Again, it's a 5-day plan. You start on day 1 through 5. Typically, I recommend to patients that they do a Sunday through a Thursday. We often think, oh, it's 5 days, I'll do it Monday through Friday, and I'll be done on the weekend. But it's one of those things where you think about your social interactions, going out with friends, maybe having a cocktail, being in some sort of event. Typically, that's Friday night, Saturday. So you want to be done Friday night, which means if you start at Sunday morning, you'd finish Thursday night. You do go to bed. That's still part of day 5. I get that question too. Can I have something Thursday night before I go to bed? And the answer is no. You have to get through that bedtime overnight Thursday night, wake up Friday morning, and that's then your day 6 where you're able to start adding some foods back in. And so again, Sunday through Thursday seems to work best. And then to really achieve the most benefits from Proline, if you're using the kit for really that metabolic reset, stem cell regeneration, and the health benefits that I recommend for a lot of my patients, Proline's research shows that you get the most benefit if you do one kit, so 5 days, every 30 days, so once a month, and then you do that 3 months in a row. If you don't have some of those metabolic health issues, and you're really doing it for maintenance or for the skin rejuvenation, then they find that even once, twice, 3 times a year can be really, really beneficial and is a great reset.
We got another really good question. Can I have my morning coffee or tea?
Great question. So unfortunately, no. Ideally, you would not have any caffeine. So one of those restrictions, and we'll get to some other restrictions, but that's a great lead-in, is if you are really caffeine dependent and you drink a lot of caffeine, 3 cups, 3 servings a day, more maybe, then you definitely want to work on weaning back on some of that caffeine before you would start the Proline. Technically, you are allowed 1 8-ounce cup of either black coffee or a tea, a green tea or black tea, but that's really not ideal. And when you think about why, caffeine will stimulate our circadian rhythm, it can spike cortisol, and that affects our metabolism and a lot of these markers that Proline is working on resetting. So if you're doing the work and you're really going to do this 5-day, you want to be committed and really have it be successful for you. So that's the one restriction I always like to mention. But again, you can, but really we want you to feel well when you do Proline. And if you're drinking a lot of caffeine and you go cold turkey and you stop drinking it altogether, you're not going to feel well. You're going to have caffeine withdrawal headaches. So you just want to work on backing that off a little bit before you would start the kit. Another one is no exercising for the 5 days that you're on Proline. And that again is you're getting enough calorie to nourish your body and not have muscle wasting, assuming that you're not working out. So you can walk, you can go to work, you can be, active in your day, but you don't want to really do heavy exercise. Another question that we get, you don't need any of your normal vitamins or supplements because what you need is in the kit. Obviously, we get into people that have medical issues, prescription medications. All of that is really on an individual basis, and you definitely need to be working with a medical professional if you're on prescription medications, especially things like diabetes medicines. That could obviously be a problem when you're talking about fasting. Another one that's really important, I have a lot of patients that will want to do Proline while they're traveling. You know, they're away from home, they don't have to worry about feeding their families and those types of things, so it's a great thing to travel with because it's small and you can actually travel with it pretty well. But you do need to have a stovetop for some of the soups. Most of them you can do in the microwave, but you will need a stovetop for a couple of them. So you have to remember that, work that into your plan. Another thing that kind of goes along with the exercise is you wouldn't want to do any heat therapy like sauna or cold therapy like cryogenics, because again, you want your metabolism to just body to reset and heal and not add extra stress. So that's good.
We do have another question.
Okay.
What should someone eat on day 6?
Oh, great question. Okay, so again, 5 days, 1 through 5. 1, you get the most calorie. 2 through 5, you're really restricting. And then on day 6, it's recommended that you ease back into normal food. So again, some soups that maybe you make at home, or simple proteins, foods that always sit easy with your stomach and make you feel well. You don't want to jump to the pizza and alcohol and a giant bowl of ice cream. You're not going to feel very well. I know that tends to be what we want to do. But like I read in that testimonial, we really do remember what hungry feels like. I find that most of my patients eat way too often, we eat way too much, and we eat way too many simple carbs and that kind of classic junk food. So when you go through 5 days, you remember what hungry feels like, you realize that you eat way too frequently and way too much. So on that day 6, just take it easy on yourself, ease things back in, and you'll find that you feel a lot better and you'll be more successful in the long run. Are there any other questions? I think we covered them all, right? Can I work out on this plan? That's a great question. Again, no strenuous exercise because you're just not eating enough to avoid the muscle wasting. So we definitely want you to be successful and not, go backwards. So no exercise while on the 5 days. On day 6, you can. Good. So I did also want to mention, as we kind of wrap up here at the end, we actually have a kind of raffle that you guys can be entered in if you would purchase Proline. So we'll get to that at the end, but I'm going to go through a couple other questions. And also, Proline right now is offering a $50 rebate. So if you would purchase a kit from the office, for every kit that you purchase on an individual receipt, there's some rules and restrictions, like there usually are around rebates, but you get a $50 rebate. And then there's one form that you can take and submit all of the receipts together. So if you would buy 3 kits over the year between now and October 31st, I think it's October 31st. Yeah, October 31st, you would get $50 additional off of each kit, which is a great deal. And then on top of that, here's a great question. If I get hangry, and if I'm hungry, that worries me. Are snacks allowed? So unfortunately, no, snacks are not allowed. Again, as I mentioned before, the most important thing through the wellness center is that you feel well. So Proline is not easy, I'm not going to lie. You do feel hungry. It's a challenge, but it's 5 days, and really most people can get through it, and the benefits are well worth it. But you need to be feeling well. You need, if you're getting dizzy, if you're feeling faint, then you just need to stop and eat something. You really shouldn't eat any other snacks, because if you do, you're not going to get all of those benefits that Proline offers, because again, it really is very well researched, very well planned, and it needs to be specific to the kid. Here's another great question. Is this safe for teenagers under 18? That's a great question. I don't know if there's any specific research on teenagers, but I personally would not recommend it. It's pretty extreme, and again, I haven't seen that research on that, so we could look into that a little bit more for you. If you're interested, you can call the Wellness Center and ask, to talk to us directly, and we can see what we can find out for you, but I've never looked into it for teenagers, so good question though. And then for that raffle, if you would stop in at CAPS and pick up a Proline kit, It's going to be between now and January 31st. And if you purchase that ProLon kit, you'd be entered into a raffle to win the Tri-Hex Preview Regimen, which is the skincare regimen that we carry. That's a $175 value, I think. So that's a great deal. Another reason to try ProLon if you've been interested or thinking about doing it. It's a great thing to try and a great time to try it. I think those are that's the most information I can really share with you tonight about ProLon. It really is well worth it. Like I said, it's not easy. I think for myself, when I've done it, the hardest thing is figuring out how to plan food for your family and not be able to eat it. I typically do it when my husband's traveling, so he'll be away, and then my little one, I can just make him all the food that maybe I normally wouldn't make him because it's either not the food that we typically eat or food that I don't enjoy. So he'll be happy, I'll be happy with my ProLon. Another thing that's a little tricky is going to the grocery store and shopping for your food for your family while you're on ProLon. That's a challenge. So I would try to maybe not do that. And then other than that, 5 days really goes pretty quick. The evening time that we're normally snacking, that's a hard time. But you get through it and you realize I don't need this snack. I don't need a bowl of popcorn while I'm spending time with my family. I can just spend time with my family. And again, guys, one last reminder, there is the rebate through the ProLon company, so a $50 rebate per kit now through October 31st. And if you would stop in and pick up a kit at CAPS between now and January 31st, you would get entered into the raffle for the Tri-Hex regimen skincare. So if you have any other questions, please give us a call. Our number here at CAPS is 614-246-6900. You can ask to speak with the Wellness Center or just say that you're interested in a ProLon kit. And always let us know if you have any questions. Have a good night, guys.